What is up, everyone? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Super thrilled that you guys actually asked a handful of questions, and I hope that I can bring you some really good value. I hope these answers really unlock some secrets into the mind of shippers, and that you are able to close millions of dollars worth of deals. But truthfully, I just hope I bring a little bit of value to you and that you can actually get some sales from this. And so again, had about 5 or 6 people ask some questions, and I will give a shout out to every single one of them and tag them in this video saying thank you so stinking much for doing that. But let's move on to the questions, because that is why you are here. So the first question, or one of the first questions that I got was, are you more likely to use a 3PL or asset-based carrier? For me, we are more likely to use an asset-based carrier, but there's some background that I need to give. Tip Top Poultry, we are not big. We're not a Coke, we're not a Pepsi, we're not a Tyson, we're not a whatever big name company that you're thinking of. We're not a Rubbermaid, we're not any of those people. So for us, it is easier to just say, hey, we're gonna predominantly use asset-based carriers. It fits into our network rather well. And the reason why that I like to use asset-based carriers, that Tip Top likes to use asset-based carriers, is because it allows more freedom and flexibility with drop capacity, with relays, and with other issues that may happen all throughout the company. If you are a 3PL, most likely you're using a provider that has the bulk of transportation industry are those mom and pop shops, the ones between 1 and 5 trucks. Now, obviously you get more that have, between that 5 and 50 or whatever that next bracket is. But for us, since we're shipping things all over the country, it is good to have companies that we can utilize that have the ability to more easily relay that load. So that's why we choose an asset-based company. We have a smaller footprint. We're not as large, so we can kind of hone in on who we partner with and who we use. Our average trucking company, I believe, has around 250 trucks, and they're all within our network. So that is why we predominantly use asset-based trucks. So it's a little bit of a trick question in my mind, not really a trick, but more of a nuanced question, which is why we use asset over 3PL. If I was a much larger company, I would probably have a better mix of 3PL and asset-based companies and really integrate those into whichever lanes make sense. The next question was, what is my best transportation experience? And this one actually took me a moment to think about it, but once I got it, this is by far the best transportation experience. For those of you who know me, I'm incredibly relational, and so this past year, before all this crap with Corona, COVID, and all that stuff happened, I reached out to a handful of folks that I've been building a relationship with. Some doing business, some haven't done any business with, but there are a total of 6 of us in this group, and we call it Champions of Logistics. And so my best experience within the transportation industry has been growing stronger, deeper relationships with these 4 or 5 other guys that are in the group. 5 other guys. I'm going to solidly say 5 other guys that are in this group. And so we've been really having conversations, a couple times a month about life in general, but also the industry as well. And it's been incredibly life-giving. So I would suggest to you, a carrier, a shipper, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're in the supply chain game, then you need to find 4 or 5 other folks that you can really do life with, the ones that you may or may not do business with. And guess what? All of the people that I'm talking to are carriers, so they're all competitors, yet we can come together for a common goal and help each other out. The next question that I was asked was, let me go back to, nope, I answered that one. So as a broker, what is the best way to handle a service failure? And so this question was asked, and this gentleman said, hey, we had about 30 loads. One of those loads, there was an issue, and it seemed like the whole world fell apart. And so my answer to this question is, what is your relationship like? You need to build a relationship bridge. We're going to use an analogy of a bridge. You need to be able to build a relationship bridge that can hold the weight, that can bear the weight of issues and problems. If you don't have any sort of relationship, then it doesn't matter if you have 1 out of 100 loads that fail. They're going to remember that one load, and they're gonna nail you for it. They're gonna hate on you for it. They're gonna ask for some sort of compensation in some sort of way for it. So what kind of relationship bridges are you building? Are these relationship bridges strong enough to build and strong enough to hold and bear the weight of issues, of problems that come your way? If they're not, like I said, it's gonna suck no matter how many times you have a great load. When that one failure comes, they're gonna remember that. I'm going to skip some psychological stuff within that, but let me also say this is about building those relationships. Once you have that relationship, it's about proactive communication. It's about transparent, open, proactive communication when those issues come. I'm going to give you this one example. For me, there's a 3PL carrier that we are utilizing, and we had probably a year and a half of building this relationship. So 30 loads, you can get that done in a week, really, depending on who it is. But let's just say that it was over 3, 6, 9 months, whatever it would be for you. You know, how long were you really pouring into that relationship? Let's get back to my story. It's been about a year and a half. Everything was going flawless. If there was an issue, they communicated proactively, openly, and they let us know much further in advance than what our customers knew. And so we were able to proactively communicate. So, but there was something that happened. This one load, it didn't pick up. So I contacted them and said, hey man, we got it fixed. We got the person coming, yada, yada, whatever the reason was. And then another day later, this was over the weekend, so there was a little bit of grace, but not so much. So over the weekend, sorry, I'm waving at my kids who are trying to come in the room. Whoops. But so over the weekend, what happens is they still didn't pick up. And so I contacted the guy and he said, hey, listen, you know what, this was their excuse. This was the reason. The owner of the company is actually going to come and fly down and pick up that truck. They're going to, run a unit, you're going to pick up that truck and make it happen. And so for the rest of the weekend, they were proactively communicating and they were giving me the best information that they had. Now, truthfully, the information that they had was incorrect and a bunch of lies, but because of that year and a half relationship that we had built, I trusted them and I knew that he was giving me all the information that he had, that he knew to be true. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't hiding any information. He wasn't trying to finagle it in some weird way to make him seem really good in the situation. He's like, you know what, this is our mistake. This is our mess up. We're using this company. We're not going to use them again. Here's what we're doing. And so all of this, over a year and a half, we had this incredible relationship and they bomb hard. I mean, hard on this load, multiple days late, multiple issues, all sorts of things, but there is grace. And the reason why there is grace is because they had a year and a half relationship bridge that could bear the weight of this issue. And they also didn't run from the issue. They also did not communicate throughout this whole weekend. They were communicating every step of the way what they knew to be true. Regardless of the fact of whether it was or was not true, didn't matter. They were communicating as best they knew how, all the information as they had it. And so that was a saving grace for them. If this was the first load, I wouldn't have them. They actually wouldn't be a part of the Champions Logistics group. But they communicated well, proactively. They communicated as best they knew how, with all the information that they had, and that really was a saving grace. They had a strong relationship bridge, and then they proactively communicated it. And that is really what helped them stay within our network a year and change later as we've continued to do business with them. I realize this video is getting kind of long, so we're actually going to do a multi-part series. So for those of you who have questions that you asked, we are still going to get to them, but this right now is 8 minutes and change, and I want to not make this a 30-minute diatribe of all this potential knowledge that I have. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna humble brag of all the potential knowledge that I have. Of all this knowledge that I have for this. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing fantastic. So for those few questions, thank you so stinking much. I'll give a shout out in the last video for those questions. But yeah, or for the people who asked those questions, thank you so much. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Look forward to part 2 of however many we do.